Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I am Dustin. We are going to be looking at NVIDIA. This is one of the hottest stocks that exists in the entire world. If you didn't watch any of my previous videos, I did just review Lucid, Neo, Rivian, Tesla, Ford. You can go ahead and watch that video released today as well. But NVIDIA, I love what I'm seeing. So when you're looking at this chart, the big thing is if you're going to see this the red lines, that means bearish sentiment. If you see the green lines, that means bullish sentiment. Have you noticed anything with NVIDIA since the 8th of May? This thing has been on an absolute tear. In the back in the middle of the range, we've seen a little bit of a pullback today. We were down nearly 2.5%. Over the past 5 days, we're down 2.15%. That's actually really nice for something like NVIDIA that has absolutely been crushing it. That massive explosion in volume. I like that we just came back to earth a little bit. We're still very bullish. We still have a trade level that is trailing right behind where we are on the close. We see a higher low. We don't see a higher high, but we do see a higher low. Still very bullish. These are all very positive signs inside of NVIDIA. And just to give you an idea of how I'd look at this, I'm looking for something that does a bearish to bullish transition. This transition here was going to be mentioned on May 8th. What I love too is when you get a 1 month negative rolling return, you had here, you can see the 1 month negative rolling return that flips into suddenly positive and you get a bullish return. Those are the types of things I like to see. I want to see a flip to bullish with a recent flip on a 1 month rolling positive return. You would have bought at 117 and 116, and I don't know where you'd be in terms of what you would have held. You wouldn't have. I'm not sure, depending on your trade pattern, but I know that this is a very, very good setup in my book. Let's go ahead and look at what other potential stocks would be relative to NVIDIA real quick. Let's look at AMD. I have not looked at AMD in a while. I want to see what this looks like too, because this is going to tell me more about if the entire semiconductor space is starting to really rip. I have not been paying attention, but if you can tell right here, NVIDIA and AMD are showing a very similar return. The only difference is that AMD went bullish on the 6th, where NVIDIA waited until the 8th. If we go back to the 6th of July or the 6th of May, which is quite impressive, you can see that we get the bullishness here. This thing was at $98. What I like is that we started to see right afterwards, we saw a big breakout in the volume, nearly, not fully double, but probably double or triple what we'd been seeing in the recent weeks or days before, which is huge. We saw a higher low. We saw a flip on the 1 month. If you watched, or at least when we were just talking about NVIDIA, the big thing I like to see is a bullish or a bearish to bullish flip we saw here on the 6th. I like to see when you get a recent 1 month rolling return from negative to positive. And I like to see continuation. And then you see we got the 3 month rolling, which went from negative to positive. That's a big buy. And you just continue to see higher and higher. And what I love is that as it stays bullish, you're seeing higher highs in the range, higher lows in the range, and it's continuing to run. This is the type of move that you'd want to continue to pay attention to. Again, I want to find something where the price is closing in the green, where you've got black lettering with green background. That means it's in the middle of the range. Probably back in here is where we're seeing that. Yeah, 137. This is really back in here. That little section where you're starting to see a pullback, that's the section where I want to buy. I want to buy when I'm in the middle of the range, not at the top of the range. Not saying that the top of the range is necessarily bad, because there's a lot of proof to say that when you buy breakouts, you do get continuation. But based on what I like to do, because I like a little bit of margin of safety, even though I'm generally just a trend trader who's paying attention to my own ranges, I like to use some of those more fundamental methodologies that you might hear from Warren Buffett. Let's go ahead and see what else we have here. TFM. This is really boding well for NVIDIA, though. When you start to see other stocks that are related to the individual stock that you're looking at start to have breakouts as well, you're going to want to start paying attention to that sector and those additional follow-ons. This, again, TSM, this is no different than what we've seen so far in NVIDIA as well as in AMD. And you can see here, we saw a bullish break on the 2nd of May. Huge. Now, the one thing that is significantly different is that today we're seeing that this had a nice pullback. You see, now we've got this price is in the middle of the range, way more than it was relative to the other ones for AMD or NVIDIA. You are at 234.60, which is the middle of the range, is much closer to the trade level, which is 231.33. We still see a higher low. We don't see a higher high, but we've seen one recently. We're still positive on the 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, and 1 year. Again, if we go back to where we saw this is going to be the 2nd of May. You can see we saw a bullish breakout at 179. We had a 1 month change. We essentially had a 1 month change within the same day when we went bullish. We went from a return, which we had for quite a while, to a positive one to bullishness. That is huge. Let's see where we got the big buy. That was when we got the 3 months to start turning positive. That would have been at 193. There's so many different opportunities to buy into stocks when they really start to have a significant sentiment change, as well as an actual transition into from bearish to bullish, because when you start to see these kinds of moves, they can carry. This is the whole point of trending. If we're looking at what I would have wanted to buy, I would have wanted to buy on this day on the 23rd and on the 2nd, on the 20th. The reason why is because, again, It was black lettering with a green background. That was very positive. You don't want to necessarily buy when you're seeing the red background with the black lettering or the really red lettering with the black background, the black text. You want to buy when you're seeing these green backgrounds and the black text. That, at least in my opinion, this is the way that I look at how I built this. Is I built something that is based off the range and then is looking at something that is in the middle of the range and can give me visual indications of when I want to buy something. We can see that this is a massive move in terms of volume. 25 million shares traded. I don't know the last time we saw 25 million shares traded inside of the stock. As I scroll down, I don't see any day. This is 22, 21, but these were the actual days that we were looking for in terms of there being a big trend reversal in terms of the sentiment. So that is really positive to me that we saw a big move. And as we're starting to see a little bit of reduction, it's on lower and lower volume. Very, very positive in my opinion. Avago. I don't even know what Avago does, but it's something with semiconductors. There's a potential there. I don't know if they do AI, do they do chips, do they do software? I have no idea because I only look at the price. And Avago is showing something very similar to what we just saw in TSM. Again, you're seeing that green background with the black lettering. You're seeing a little bit reduced volume as we're starting to pull back a little bit. You're seeing it continues to be bullish. You're seeing we're getting close to that trade level. We're still seeing a higher low. The bottom is rising. The top is not necessarily breaking out as high as it was, but you're still seeing it stay consistently high. I do like what I see here in Avago as well. This bodes really, really well for the potential in NVIDIA. Let's look at MU. It really looks like right now we've got an absolute stunner inside of the AI chip market, semiconductors, just overall, whatever these companies are doing, the market seems to love. But I can tell you that there's a major difference in what we're seeing here. As we've shown in the previous stocks we've already looked at, we only saw bullishness so far. We saw stuff come to the middle of the range. This is where we see the flip. You start to see this thing start to actually turn bearish. That is very, very bad. I don't know if there was news. I don't know if there was earnings. I'm not sure if there was, I don't know. It could have been a trade war. I have no idea. All I can tell you right now is that I do not buy from bullish to bearish flips this. No way, no how. Those type of things that I'd be paying attention to really get out of. But if we look at what we saw here and we look at the bullishness, you can see on the 8th here, we went from bearish to bullish, right? We went from bearish to bullish on the 8th of May. And we started to see a real breakout in the actual stock itself. You can see we didn't see higher low just yet. But we went from having lower highs to all of a sudden going bullish. We saw the change in the 1 month, the 15-day, the 5-day, and the 1 day. We still didn't have a positive on the 3 month, but here we do on the 20th at $98. That was a good signal as well. And then you can see that we essentially got a nice little pullback here into the middle of the range. We still were bullish, but we didn't see anything that resembled it turning bearish suddenly. We continued to run a little bit higher, still a little bit higher. We saw a massive push in volume here at 126, and I wonder if that was the peak. I really truly wonder if the 126 was the peak, at least for now. It definitely looks like it was. We have not eclipsed that price since. Yeah, we have definitely not eclipsed that price. 127 was the close there, so it looks, yeah, we definitely there was definitely something that happened around 127 that looks like it's new resistance. But the type of character that we've seen in MU is that we've seen these kinds of moves and we see these breakdowns, the shakeouts, and essentially you can see continued resolution. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add this into my portfolio for the time being. But I would definitely say if I'm going to pay attention to anything, I'm going to pay attention to AMD, TSM, and Avago. MU can sit on the sidelines for a little bit. But tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, come check out the trade range authentication.web app. It's free to use. All you got to do is log in with your Gmail. You can all of a sudden start to use a bunch of the stuff. It's free. You get to check out 10 different stocks. You can add things to your portfolio. You can do all this kind of stuff. It updates every single night. It's got the newest data. It's got the great indicators. Tell me what you think. I'll talk to you soon.